did, marrying in haste, without thought, without understanding, without love. But even in a home in which there are love and understanding, there can be serious troubles. A man who desires his child to grow straight must understand that each new step toward manhood must be encouraged. But this is sometimes difficult, especially when the new things the child has learned outside the home are unfamiliar to the parents. It was just such a new step when Juanito brought home 2 rabbits one day. His father was full of doubts. Who will eat rabbits? Why raise animals that are good for nothing? It is hard for a man who has never eaten rabbit to have his son tell him that they are good to eat. It is hard for a man to accept learning new things from his son. The boy is very stubborn. He acts as if he were the man of the house. The boy says he learned about rabbits in school, that they are good to eat and cheap and easy to raise. And besides, he will take care of them all by himself. It is hard for a man to let his son win an argument. It is hard, but a man must do it sometimes. He must let the child take new steps when he is ready. That makes him even more of a man. No one would think of preventing a tree from growing. Neither should one prevent a child from growing. The physical growth of people and of trees is reached one day. But there is another kind of growth with people that need not stop. For there is possible in the hearts and minds of men and women a growth in experience, in understanding, in maturity. To raise a real man, one should be a real man. So strong in the feeling of his own worth that he does not pretend to be something he is not. He can be a good son to his parents, does not have to prove that he is a man. They know it. He can be gentle with his children. They too know he is a man. He has knowledge of himself and respect for himself. And for this reason, he does not have to be a bully or a braggart to make himself feel content. This is what makes a true man. And it is possible to help a child grow into a true man or the wife of a true man. And it is possible for the young people to understand how the children they will someday have may also be helped and cultivated and loved so that they...
You're only 7 minutes late, which is basically early. Okay. Thanks, I guess. Now's not the time to be distracted by unfriendly comments. Hello, everyone. I'm Charis Euphranor, first and last philosopher VTuber, last librarian of Alexandria, desperately unemployed, but also renowned horror hater, which I think should be that's kind of like the introduction.
My comments are actually very friendly.
It's a case by case.
Mine was friendly.
Yours was. Hello, Tia. Hello, Tia. Thank you for not succumbing to the pressure of
I didn't say anything.
immediately launching the stream with a negative comment. I'm kidding. Hello everyone. Hello. That's today's stream was not really planned, but I kind of thought like I needed to conclude upon the arc with a bit more than just me screaming and crying and throwing up and like just generally being emotionally very upset. Because I thought like, you know, that was probably fun for you. It was dreadful for me. It was probably fun for you to watch that happen to me in Iron Lung. But I just thought that I probably had to conclude my thoughts with something more concrete, with something more conclusive. I used the same word twice, conclude and conclusive. I wanted to touch upon horror in all of the ways we experience
vampire. I personally can just unsubscribe.
I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know you did. And I played it, and I don't regret it, but man, did it suck, that last section at
Only
least.
Cherry could turn getting scared into homework.
It sucks. It sucks. I hate getting scared. It's so bad. But yeah, I'm going to turn it into homework now, because now, after a month of that, after a month of getting scared, right? After a month of kind of delving
Limbo
into...
and Little Nightmares were fun and GL.
Okay, those games are fair. All right. Were they? Those games were fun. Were they? I don't know if Limbo was really fun. Limbo was okay. Little Nightmares was fun, but I think partially it was fun only because I was playing with Axion, and that was a fun time. Did you enjoy them? Did you get scared?
Stream Elements bot running robot face. Learn how to customize the bot here.
Shut up.
Stop.
Don't read that. Oh, can we customize Stream Elements to shut up? Can we customize it to shut up when I'm talking? Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, that's the worst chatter by far. Like, it's Stream Elements. Not even the guy who came in with the problematic comments earlier. You know what? Maybe I prefer that. Anyways, month of horror. I don't like horror games, and I think that has been made clear to everyone who's watched my channel at any point in the past month. Judging by my reaction to pretty much everything I did, it was a mixture of like agony and disgust and peril and just fear and anxiety and like really just like I didn't enjoy it at all. Is what it may have seemed like. In reality, I did enjoy probably like 10% of it, which is more than I thought I would, right? I thought so, at least. And I think like having done that month of horror, I know what that is for myself. Like I know how that bodes on me, and I know how that helps me develop as a person. But it might not be clear to everyone else, or maybe there might be something I could share or talk about or discuss that might help someone, but that might help someone who's not as scared as me still kind of gain something from this month of horror, from my month of horror at least, right? So to begin with, maybe I should just briefly mention all of the things that might come up, all of the different medias that might come up. We played a month of games and we watched some films, and well, I say some.
I can't believe I could only return at the end of the month I looked forward to the most. I can still enjoy VODs and the conclusion though.
Indeed. Sorry, I can't see anything. Where's my chat? It like disappeared. Where's my chat? There it is. Hello, Kira. Can we only return to the end? Yep. Still enjoy VODs. You can enjoy the VODs and you can enjoy the conclusion. Hope you're doing well. Hope everyone else is doing well too. Now that I said it for one person, I have to say it for everyone. It's terrible, really. I should stop wishing people well, because if I wish one person well, now I have to wish everyone well. That's annoying. We gained a lot in this month of seeing your horrors. That's not it, though. You watched me suffer, and you were like, funny VTuber man, funny philosopher man. He's suffering, and his suffering is my enjoyment. I know how it is. I get it. I get that this is entertainment. Like, I understand what the game is, okay? Like, I know that this is enjoyable for you, and that is part of the reason why I did it, is because I thought, you would probably enjoy this. But the other part of the reason is because I think the less enjoyable parts, maybe, which is going to be this stream, is going to be less enjoyable than watching me scream my head off, probably, is to maybe, like, think briefly about all the shit we did, right?
Tell us you hate us more.
Stop asking for it. Stop. If you ask for it, I'm not doing it. Stop. I'm just going to ignore all of you. It is quite noble that in your quest to better understand the appeal of horror, you use yourself as a test subject. Well, it's less like test subject, right? But it more so like, I feel as though in order to really fully, intelligently speak on something.
I knew exactly what you were gonna say too.
Fuck you. Don't even read that, Parrot. Anyways, I think it was less test subject for me and more like, I felt as though my opinion would make more sense or would be better informed if I had actually experienced the thing I wanted to talk about. Because I do want to talk about horror in the same way that I want to talk about most things because I'm like nosy and I'm annoying and I'm a philosophy major, which entitles me to want to talk about anything. And well, anyways, but in order to speak on it, I wanted to make sure that I was coming from like a charitable perspective, right? Because at the heart of it, and this is today's thumbnail, right? Today's thumbnail is like me with a giant, was like me looking at Five Nights at Freddy's.jpg with like a big red circle
Charis
over it, I think,
Euphranor. And
then like a big red like arrow pointing towards it, and then like text that just says, "Why do people even like this?" All right, like that's the idea, right? So I'm not asking the question in bad faith. I'm asking the question in really good faith. In such good faith, in fact, that even though I hate horror games and I hate like, I hate being scared, I just dread the genre and the entirely. If you could, and debatably you can say, well, genre's not real and it's a bad way to categorize things. We can talk about that all day. The specificities of genre and whether or not it's even real, but at the end of the day, I don't like horror, or at least I don't like most of horror, and I wanted to know why I didn't like it, but also more importantly, I wanted to know if that could change. And in that process, I wondered to myself, why do other people like it then? Like, maybe that will help me. Ultimately, this is a selfish endeavor. Like, everyone needs to know right now that this is ultimately a selfish endeavor for me, because I just want to learn about myself. Like, I want to know why I don't like it. I want to know how I can like it if it's possible. In like a month, I tried to do that. To probably no avail, but maybe like a little avail. Okay, anyways, as I was saying, probably 5 minutes ago at this point, I want to cover everything. I want to just briefly mention everything that we did. Okay, everything that we did, and by we I mean I, but it's like the royal we.
I need to know why you dislike jump scare free horror. I simply can't understand it.
Because like it's like it unnerves me and it discomforts me. I don't like being unnerved and discomforted. But then isn't that a good thing, philosopher man? Well, okay. Here's what we did. We first played Higurashi When They Cry Chapter 1. That is a light novel. No, visual novel. That is a visual novel. So it's like a game, but really it was reading. It was just a bunch of text, right? But it was a game by technicality, I suppose. And that was... well, I don't know. Should I talk about these individually? I'll briefly talk about them individually. Or at least how I felt about them. Overall, I think I enjoyed it, or I really wanted to enjoy it, and then the ending I really didn't like because it felt very inconclusive and like just unsatisfying. But I am maybe open to like maybe playing it more so I can find out what happens next, and by that I mean I'll have to probably buy the next chapter, which I just don't want to do. But if I want to, then I have to do that. I don't know. But overall, it was fascinating because Higurashi felt to me like objectively good, in the sense that like it was objectively good horror in its recipe. Whether or not the ingredients were good is a whole other debate. Now, the ingredients include: do you like to self-insert as a guy in high school surrounded by 5 other anime girl high schoolers who all seem as though they're gonna fall in love with you, or 4? I don't remember. 4, I think. I don't really... The characters were kind of the weakest part for me in all this. Like 4 girls who kind of seem like they're about to fall in love with you, but then they go super insane, and then you wonder, were they always insane to begin with? What's going on? Why are they like this? And then that kind of digs into your psyche. So like, if you, like me, did not at all enjoy the ingredients, you at least could probably recognize that the ingredients were used in a way that produced a coherent and great recipe. And you could just probably, like, you know, replace the ingredients with shit that, like, you know, is less
Rika, my love.
annoying to me. Rika, my love. Oh my god, Violet. I don't like the characters. I just don't like them. I wish I could like them. I really wanted to like them. But like, what the hell? Which one is that again? Hold on. Rika Higurashi. Oh, okay, yeah. I don't know, man. Like, the headband thing, I grew tired of it. The second, like, 2 times after she said it. I think, like she said it after she said it twice. I was like, that's enough. I forgive you for your bad taste. This is the joke. Which part is the joke? Your forgiveness or the bad taste? Which one is it, Mylin? I will say that, like, part of today's stream actually was inspired by Mylin doing a reading of, like, a psychology paper the other day. You did a paper on, like, or you read, like, bits of a paper on why people like horror, and I felt as though, personally, and it's not of your fault at all, right? It was purely the paper you're reading, and I think
he never learned how to say pensive face.
Shut up. A star is not a real word, okay? But I partially why I'm doing today's stream
read Higurashi?
Is because that paper to me felt very unsatisfying and very like it was too broad and it wasn't too personal, and I feel like horror needs to be personal. It has, like, someone's take on horror has to be personal, because fear is a subjective thing. Fear is a subjective phenomenon that happens to you, and we can maybe, like, you know, plug your brain into, like, a scanner and see, oh, these parts of your brain are reacting in this way to certain horror stimuli that may suggest anxiety or whatever, or, like, you know, other kind of, like, psychological states, perhaps. But they don't do the explanatory work of the subjective kind of experience of fear. And why, more importantly, I think the bigger question is, why this unpleasant thing?
I have a car kept
or at least
large square.
This thing that we think is unpleasant is so enjoyed by so many people. That's the thing. That's the kicker to me. That's the kicker for, like, the interesting thing. Because the subjective phenomena of fear is already interesting enough. Like, why is it that some people fear some things and some people don't? Why is it that, for example, maybe exposure to something lowers our fear of it? How come? Like, how does it correlate with our knowledge of something, or, like, you know, whether or not our understanding of a certain thing, our morbid curiosity, our desire to conquer the unknown, etc., etc. But more importantly, like, at least to me, like, why fear it all, and why have we grown to enjoy it on some like level? The paper was more, why do people like this, as opposed to why does it scare people? But I agree that aspect is super interesting. I think both are interesting, but I think to get to one, you need to get to the other.
Bone Oracle something.
Parrot is not reading kanji well. That's just not happening. Anyways. What was I gonna say? I forgot. Oh yeah. Higurashi overall was, to me, an example of good horror that I didn't particularly a good horror that aged, no, that's not the right word either. It was a good recipe with ingredients I didn't like. That's what it felt like to me. That was Higurashi. and I can see why people like it. And I think on some level I liked the structure of it and the kind of the way the story came together, but I just did not like the characters at all. And I think part of what made it horrific or horrifying was the emotional attachment you would have towards the characters. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure. We can speculate on that a little bit. We played Limbo, which I found was okay. It had a pretty strong like stylistic sense and striking visuals and an aesthetic, but it felt as though well, I think one of the comments summed up my thoughts really well on that stream. Someone in the FOD said, someone in the stream said that it was all smoke, no fire. That's how I felt about Limbo, I suppose. It creeped me out, but not in a way that truly like dug into my brain, I suppose. Little Nightmares 3, we did after that. That I played with Exeon. It was really fun playing with Exeon. And I enjoyed the whole experience of like basically holding it, figuratively and literally holding Exeon's hand, at least as the character, right? And screaming my head off at various things that he was very unfazed by, but nonetheless like enjoyed playing into anyways. Ultimately, Little Nightmares 3 felt like a weaker approach to what made the first, at least the first and maybe the second, because I haven't played the second, but I have played the first game great. We played Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines only briefly, did it for about a stream. I really enjoyed the first few bits before they got into the horror hotel, and then when they got into the horror hotel, like I lost my mind. And I don't know if I enjoyed it after that. I have no idea. Then we did FNAF, Five Nights at Freddy's, which is campy horror, I think I want to say. Which is it's the jump scare horror that was popularized by social media. I want to say 10 years ago, 11 years ago was when the game came out and everyone talked about it and everyone played it, right?
He did really well at the FNAF.
I did great at the FNAF. I beat the Five Nights at Freddy's. I conquered the Five Nights at Freddy's. And honestly, I didn't really... I kind of liked it, but not enough to speak positively about it, considering like the scope of the audience that it had, and like it was overrated. Okay, it was good, but it was overrated. That's what I want to say. I wanted to teeter over my words. I don't know why. I wanted to just gently approach the topic and the subject, and no, man, it was overrated. Five Nights at Freddy's is not bad. It's not terrible, but it's overrated for sure. It is for sure overrepresented. I don't think it's horror's finest. Now we come to Iron Lung. That's the last of the games we played, and Iron Lung probably was that. Iron Lung was the scariest.
Striker as it stands from the first arc, nothing is making me want to continue other than the plot itself.
True, exactly. I don't like the characters either. Those are my thoughts on Higurashi, right? And that's why I like Higurashi. To me, it was like kind of like maybe I'll play it, but I don't know. Like I'm not that drawn. Iron Lung, I'm extremely drawn towards. Like in a way that's like I only played it like 2-3 days ago, and you can watch the entire thing on my channel. There's a VOD there. You could probably skip to like
_chairheart.
Hello, Stella. You could probably skip to the bit where well, I was gonna skip to the bit where I shit myself, but that's like every part of the 2-hour stream, or was it 3 hours? The game is like an hour long, and it took me 2 hours to play because I, at every point and moment, thought I was gonna die, and I was frozen up in fear, and that did not go away at all, even after the credits rolled. Even after I beat the game, Iron Lung, that's it, that's everything, and then we got back to the main menu. I was still like, I'm still cowering in fear. I think I don't know that something about it was so compelling, which I'll get, and I don't know if I want to get into detail yet. I want to kind of talk about all of them as a whole first before diving into specific highlights for me. But as a whole, Iron Lung was that highlight. I really think so. In terms of like horror, the experience of horror that sunk its like teeth and claws into my brain. It was Iron Lung. I don't like it in the sense that like it was extremely unpleasant, and I don't want to experience it again. But it did make me think a lot about horror as a genre, and I think it ultimately made me I'm probably like a slightly more educated person. Educated is the word I might use actually. I'm a slightly now I know more about myself after having played Iron Lung, I suppose is what I'll say. That's it for the games. For the text we read, it was just The Call of Cthulhu by H.P. Lovecraft. I wish I could have read more, but didn't really have time to. My apologies. I think there was a really heavy emphasis on games this month, so that was like, the mandatory reading that we did at the end. It's also an audiobook now. It's not an audiobook in like the professionally developed sense. I titled it that because I thought that would make it seem more impressive than it actually was. We just read it. Like I just did a reading of it, and it's on my channel. Anyways, The Call of Cthulhu was pretty good, and I can see why it's a classic, but it didn't grip me nearly in the same way. It didn't capture me the same way that some of these games did, and I wonder why that's the case as well. I imagine that my involvement in there is probably what makes it scary for me, but I'll get into that too. And finally, for movies, we watched Get Out. That was what we watched. Get Out 2017, I think, by Jordan Peele, who is, or at least was, known for his comedy, and now perhaps known for his other works. Get Out was his first venture into anything that wasn't just the tried and true comedy that he's, so loved for. But I think more than anything is fantastic, phenomenal, impressive, very well done. And if I were to critically summarize my experience with Get Out in a few words, it would be okay-ish idea, flawless execution. So the idea, it was okay-ish, like it wasn't the grandest, most interesting, most philosophically, stimulating thing I'd ever encountered, but the execution was fucking perfect. It was a great film in that regards. And that is, I think, a summary of all the media we consumed this month. Together or otherwise, I don't know if you were here for every stream or thing that we did. You don't have to be, and the VODs are always there. But that's just to give you kind of like a picture of where I'm coming from when I talk about horror games and horror things. This is the sample size I've got. And you can criticize it and say, you didn't play scarier shit, or this is not, you only did one thing, or most of these were video games and that doesn't count. Maybe you would be tempted to say that. I don't know why you would. You watch a VTuber, so I just don't think you're the type of person that would say that, but I don't know, right? Regardless, that's where I'm coming from in all this. There's fandom fighting in the comments over Higurashi. Yep. You screamed so loud that your mic noise canceled you. I think that was what happened for Iron Lung, yep. You played a lot more jump scare horror. I wish you had delved into psychological. We'll try that next time around, which is next year, or not. Maybe I'm dead next year. Maybe like I'll just die before next year even happens, but in the unfortunate event that I'm still alive, I will maybe consider revisiting this and doing more of it. Something you probably experienced the first time is the originality of indie horror compared to bigger productions. Yeah. So I didn't play big AAA horror because I just don't think, or at least I didn't think I could take it, and I still don't.
Unfortunate event _cheer LOL.
Yes, it's unfortunate. Will you do Alien? I don't know, not now. But yeah, that's where I'm coming from, and you could say perhaps this was a bit too indie. This was a bit too indie focused, and would have liked to have seen me play something, bigger in scope and production. I don't blame you. Just know that I probably chose these because I couldn't stomach them. Hello, Obsidian, or hello. Forbid you from dying. Yeah, but like, never mind. I was gonna make a reference to something that would immediately dox myself. Never mind. Did you have any impressions of the Exeon horror streams that you caught? Faith, TUT, Halloween. Not enough to like make a point, right? I've watched a bit of Exion playing Faith, and I didn't like it at all. And I watched a bit of his Halloween stream as well, where he read Monkey's Paw. I actually intentionally tuned out, or not tuned out. I clicked out of it because I didn't want to, because I actually haven't read the Monkey's Paw yet, and I want to read that myself. So I've yet to dive into that. But when I do, I'll have more thoughts on it, I think. But just, you know, for everyone's context, just for everyone, right? This is where I'm coming from. Sorry, I'm just like going back and reading comments to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, so what is scary? We started the month by asking this question, or at least I did. I started the month with a discussion on why people find things scary, or no, what people find scary. That's what we started this month with. What do you fear? I titled it in the second person way because I wanted to invoke some sort of like audience engagement but really it was just me exploring what I found dreadfully fear-inducing on my own account, at least. I think that was thoroughly explored. Maybe not thoroughly. I can imagine more things that I would be scared of that I didn't experience this month. But a lot of what I suspected would be terrifying turned out to actually be terrifying, and I did shit myself. Not literally, but metaphorically. Anyways. I feared everything. I don't think there was a single thing that intended to scare me that I wasn't scared of. And I think partially it's because this is the way I consume media. I'm really good at immersing myself into whatever the hell it is I'm consuming. I'm really good at putting myself in the shoes of like the main character in the game, or like of the story or whatever. The only thing that maybe didn't freak me out that much was Call of Cthulhu, but that could in part be because it's an old text that has since inspired many new projects for which have, you know, embody something that's very spiritually similar, that I've grown used to on some level. Like Cthulhu, for example, is not a scary figure to me. Like, I've seen big tentacle monster with dragon wings and scales and a humanoid form towering over nautical ships. Like, I've seen that imagery so much that it's not a novel concept to me. Like, that's nothing new. And while I agree that the Call of Cthulhu overall was probably relatively well written and kind of hit the horror on the head in certain ways, at least, like, for example, it masterfully described the indescribable, and that is not an easy task, I imagine, right? How do you describe the indescribable? The horror is like a cosmic horror. It's Lovecraftian. We named the whole damn thing after him, right? After the guy. Well, partly it's because he was, you know, one of the most prominent people to ever do it, and to do it in such a way that was so effective. Like, how do you talk about something that is beyond human mortal comprehension? You certainly can't just go the whole story by saying, ooh, it's super scary, and you would never know how scary it could possibly be because it's beyond your imagination. What he does well in the text, I think, and that might give us maybe, or it might reveal something about why we fear, at least why I fear, is it kind of begs... It keeps drip feeding information to you. And how do I say this? How should I say this? It's. I felt as though Lovecraft was really good at giving you just slow bits of information about this indescribable, inconceivable, cosmic horror, ever so slowly, by showing you the way it affected other people. And how it, you know, destroyed their minds and it turned everyone insane, or so on and so forth, right? And So you could never really see what that subjective experience was. All you could do was speculate from the sidelines, from a third-person angle. As I touched on earlier, the subjective experience of fear is what interests me the most, right? It's the, like, I feel, right now I'm sitting here and I'm terrified, right? Like, what is that? Why am I terrified and why is everyone else in chat laughing at me? What the hell? Why are you not scared with me? This is fucking horrifying. What do you mean? Right? Like, why does that happen? And Lovecraft, in showing you fear only from that third person perspective, from that, like, you know, whoa, this guy went insane, or these people walked into this cult-like worshipping, and then they experienced these things, and then the next thing they knew, they were, like, you know, they had abandoned their ship, and they had to set sail somewhere else, or whatever, right? So on and so forth. And that, to me, is part of what makes the horror effective in the Call of Cthulhu. It's precisely that it's almost beckoning you, the reader, to try to imagine what it would be like to feel that fear. And in so doing, you create that fear in your mind. Lovecraft guides you to it. Lovecraft kind of suggests, here's maybe, you know, like, here's how everyone else is reacting to this. Here's the very little amount of information we have of it. But we do know that it generally is unpleasant and might kill you, and it's mysterious and dreadful, perhaps. And your mind fills in the gaps. Your mind does the scaring, almost, in a certain way. You create your own fear, and that's how horror is, I think. Or at least part of what makes horror is it's not the thing itself that's scary. The things that are in the media, in the thing that you're consuming, provoke your fear by taking advantage of certain things. Like, for example, common elements that we all are averse to, like death and decay and rot and dim lights, things that maybe, you know, suggest danger or uncertainty, and uses those, like, aspects to magnify that subjective sensation in you. And all it can do is that, right? In other words, there is no horror, there's no scare without the person being scared. The age-old question, if a tree falls in a forest, does it make a sound? Let's maybe, you know, paraphrase that a little bit and put that here in the scope of horror and the subjectivity of fear. If there's no one playing, there is no FNAF jump scare. That, like, Freddy Fazbear doesn't jump scare anyone. There is no jump scare if there's no one to be jump scared. If that makes sense. Like, you need to be there for there to be some sort of horror, because the horror is ultimately, it takes place in your mind. And I don't know if we can extrapolate this into further shit, and perhaps we shouldn't, because these are just the mad ramblings of someone who played horror games for a month and thinks he's onto something, when he really is onto nothing and cooking nothing.
Yes, makes sense _chair thing.
Thank you for reaffirming me. Honestly, I don't think it makes any sense, but I'm trying to get somewhere with this. But you know what? Like, that's, I think, where it takes place. That's where it happens. That's the horror happens in the mind. And everyone's mind is different, or at least perceives things differently. Why? How come? I don't know exactly. We have commonalities. That's why certain horror games can be more successful than others. And I don't mean successful like, you know, financially it makes a lot of money and sells a lot of copies. I mean, like, you know, succeeds in the sense that it scares you. There are different things that scare different people, but we do kind of share a commonality, I think, in what makes something scary and what makes something terrifying. And part of that is, you know, what we speculated earlier on at the beginning of the month. I would say unknown. It really is the unknown that's scary. Like, if you don't if you don't know something, or you have to not know something about that thing for it to be scary. If you truly understood everything, and you know, maybe that's a bad statement, a bad argument to make, but let's just make it so that we get somewhere in this discussion, right? If you know everything there is to know about that thing, it is immediately less scary. It is for sure less scary than if you only knew some bits of it. So you used extra words to say horror is subjective. No, I'm reinforcing why I'm saying horror is subjective. Because I don't mean subjective in the sense that, like, like perhaps some people who would uncharitably argue that art is subjective, you know, it's all in the eye of the beholder, blah blah blah. Like no, there are commonalities in our subjectivity, in our subjective experience of horror, which is why certain things like Iron Lung, for example, is a game where I imagine I wasn't the only one who got scared. Like, imagine many other people got scared too, with me, or without me. Like, they played it themselves. I mean, they played it individually and they got scared from that as well. And it kind of exploits certain patterns in our brain, or certain things that we find unpleasant or scary or like dangerous. You can try to attribute it to, I don't know, evolutionary psychology. You can kind of try to trace the Darwinian thread. I don't really care for that personally, or rather, it's not that I don't care for it. That's not a discussion for today. That it's not certainly within my area of expertise at all. If I were to lay claim to any area to be an expert in, which I really shouldn't, because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But regardless, horror is very subjective. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Charis Euphranor. You spent like 15 minutes saying something that could have been said in one sentence that you already said in one sentence. What's your main point? What's my phone? Sorry, give me a second. I dropped my phone. Hello. I'm back. My biggest fear is not death, but the fact that my life is passing and it didn't do my ambitions or dreams, aka leaving with regrets. That's something that's interesting because we touched upon that in our in our opening discussion on the month of horror. When I asked, what do people fear? And one of the common answers was, a fear of regret, a fear of not accomplishing everything, a fear of leaving behind a world that, or like an existence that we otherwise feel incomplete. That is, I think, an abstract fear. That is an abstract fear that I find not very easily expressed or explored in video games, and perhaps some film, or at least film that we would classify as horror. For some reason. I don't know what the reason is, actually. Why is it? Why is that? Why is that not more explored? Because it's not as immediate as there's a clown in front of you and it has a knife and it's going to kill you, right? Like, that's scary in the immediate, I need to get the fuck out of your sense. A lot of, maybe if we want to delve into this psychologically, a lot of the fear that's induced is specifically like primal, immediate fear. At least the stuff that's the most forward-facing stuff in the horror genre. It's the big, loud noise, right? Whoa! It's the sharp sting. It's the sharp stinger. It's the big scream at the end. It's the loud bang. It's the sudden silence followed by a jump scare. That could explain the prevalence of it in media, but it doesn't quite, to me at least, get to the heart of like the deeper senses of fear that I get from certain things like Iron Lung, for example, that don't just kind of end the moment a jump scare happens, right? Because the moment a jump scare happens in something that's, well, cheap maybe is not the right word, but horror that's less masterfully done, I'm not scared anymore. Horror that's really well done has, in my opinion at least, kept me fearing for my fucking life at every moment of its duration. That's what made it really effective horror, and I want to say good horror, right? What made something good was that it kept that fear in my mind for a very long time, and that goes beyond just the jump scare. It goes beyond just the immediate boo, is what I wanted to say, but you know. I suppose so. Tia, you're saying, I suppose a separate question is why different people have different horror tolerances. Tolerance, I think, is actually relatively easily explained. It really is just exposure. At least if we are to go through the horror explanation, assuming that the premise, everything we fear is the unknown, the unknown, or we fear the unknown, or the source of our fear is the unknown, then the more you're exposed to it, the more you, one way or another, whether you're exposed to it through horror or you're exposed to it through just living your day-to-day, which you might not consider horror. For example, if you are exposed to morgues and cemeteries and other sorts of things, locations that involve death and decay in a way that I don't want to say humanizes the subject matter, but sort of makes sense of the subject matter. If you are more familiar with it growing up, then I would imagine that you would be less fearful of it when it comes up in like Friday the 13th, right? And I think it's a strong premise, so I want to stick with it. But we should always question ourselves as we kind of accept what we believe is true to be, as a matter of fact, true, right? In some sense of the word. Do you think a better word to describe what is scary than unknown could be aberrant? Things like bugs can scare people without being very mysterious, for instance. Bugs are mysterious, though, or at least the way I see the mystery of a bug is not like, you know, what are the biological, what's the biological makeup of a bug? What they tend to enjoy doing, how they reproduce, what their natural cycles are, whether or not they're prone to attacking humans. Like, that's not really, to me, the unknown that scares me when I look at a bug. The unknown that scares me when I look at a bug is like, what if for some reason I piss it off and then it's like, you are now public enemy number one and we will swarm you. Like, you know, and it could be something entirely out of my control, or it could be something that I unintentionally did to piss it off. I don't know. I feel that way about animals, for instance, and this is maybe, you know, sharing bits about myself. I fear animals not because I don't know, or rather, I fear animals, and ultimately my fear is in not knowing what their next move is, I suppose. And I think, like, knowing more about those animals can help me conquer my fear of them, in the same way that I think many things that are scary are less so once we familiarize ourselves with it. And I want to get to this later, or maybe now, but I'm going to mention it now. That leads to an interesting point in, like, meta horror. From the meta perspective, like, you can just get used to the horror genre or the horror tropes per se, right? And then you don't get scared anymore because you know, oh, okay, well, they're gonna, oh wow, there's something behind there's a noise behind the door. The main character is gonna walk to the door and they're gonna slowly open it, and then there's gonna be like a silence, and then it's gonna seem fine, and then just a split second later, when that tension is built up, you know, the serial killer pops in with the mask and goes, you know, huzzah, I am here to kill you. Okay, maybe they don't say that, but, you know, they kind of pop up and they scream or something, or, you know, they just kind of, a stinger plays and maybe lightning strikes, something to that effect. Just open a biology textbook and quit overthinking. That is what I should be doing, but unfortunately, I am not a STEM major, and I will never be a STEM major, not because I look down upon it, but because I can't do it. I'm just terrible at memorizing things and thinking through the scientific method. Anyways. Horror is that which is but shouldn't be is a quote I've heard before and find quite applicable to examples of horror I've encountered since then. That which is but shouldn't be. I like that, yeah. Yeah. Horror is but shouldn't be. That which is but shouldn't be. What makes something horrifying is that from our expectations of how things work, for example, from our expectations of how human biology works, no one should be able to stretch their neck that far. Or twist their neck, or rotate their neck that far into their body. But then in a horror film, we'll see the cracking and the snapping of the bones and someone, turning their head 180 degrees with a creepy smile on their face. What? That is because it's happening right now in front of our eyes as the media, as the film, as the whatever. But it shouldn't be that. That shouldn't be the case. From everything we know about humans, that's not possible. But it's happening right now. And I think convincing horror is tugging that line, because if it were too fantastical, it wouldn't be scary anymore, right? If someone were to, if it were completely out of the realm of possibility in your mind, if it were just way too absurd, it was just so unhuman-like that there is nothing about it that even is remotely, could even be remotely real, then I would imagine that it's not as scary as something that is, uncanny. Something that is so close to human expectation maybe, but isn't quite there. It's uncanny. It's one of the cornerstones of horror, perhaps, is exploring or utilizing or performing this uncanniness. I don't know.
Proud of you. Last year's Charis Euphranor would beam frozen in place rather than powering the horror.
Thank you. I think I would have. Your theory about tolerance also doesn't account for why two people playing the same game blind might experience different levels of fear if it's all based on their prior exposure. It can be. And it can not be their prior exposure to that game, specifically. This theory, or at least this hypothesis, oh god, I'm using the sciencey words, no! But running with the premise that our fears of the unknown can account for that, because one person playing the same, or two people playing the same game blind could just have different experiences in their exposure to horror things, or even just, things of that nature. Maybe they'd never played Silent Hill. What the hell is Silent Hill again? I gotta look this up. Hold on. Silent Hill. Yeah, okay. So someone who, for example, maybe Silent Hill is a bad example, because it's got a lot of moving components. Two people who play Five Nights at Freddy's might have different tolerances and reactions to the game based on how familiar they are with, on some level, the horror genre, but even if not that, right? How familiar they are with loud noises. Or maybe how comfortable they are with loud noises. I'm not sure exactly, because the FNAF is also a bad example, because the jump scare doesn't mean you're scared so much as it means you flinch, because it's normal to flinch in reaction to certain strong stimulus. What's a better example? Someone who is more familiar with underwater nautical navigation might be less scared of Iron Lung than, say, someone who isn't. Certainly I can see that. Certainly someone who spends a lot of their time diving, or someone who has an in-depth understanding of, marine biology, I imagine, would be less scared, perhaps, than someone who knows nothing at all about the deep sea, other than the fact that, there could be scary fish. But it's not so much an extent of how much you know and how much you don't know that scares you. It's just, so long as there is something about it that you don't know, that's where the fear kicks in, though, isn't it? You could know everything about fish. You could know everything about marine life, and then play Iron Lung and still be scared shitless because you think, wait a minute, fish shouldn't be that, they shouldn't behave that way. They shouldn't be this big. They shouldn't be this hostile. What's going on? You know, I've studied most life forms before. It's similar to what I'm familiar with, but not quite. It's a bit uncanny, and that can be scary too. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'll backpedal. I myself detest jump scares that rely on loud noises or really sudden flashes of imagery. Even as a horror fan, they feel cheap to me and rely on fight or flight rather than bothering the mind. Yeah, like, I think that's... I agree with the cheapness of it, is the take, right? I agree with that because it fades so... It goes so quickly. And what's... I think really good horror stays in your head. And it doesn't just go away the moment, like, the moment is over. Anyone will flinch at a loud noise, right? A jet engine, I don't know, fireworks could go off outside my window, which it did like 2 hours ago. And I didn't know when exactly it would happen. I just, like, until it did, and that jump scared me. But that wasn't scary. The fireworks weren't scary. Or at least I would hardly describe it that way. My intuition is that tolerance is partially inborn / due to genetic and neurological variations as opposed to being purely influenced by one's experience. Sure, I think that's fair. Yeah, sure. Maybe perhaps we're building into something. The experiences one has shapes our neurology to some extent. Maybe, I don't know. Sorry, there's a lot of hmming and hawing and like uncertainty in this stream because, frankly, I don't like horror and I've not delved into horror that much, and I don't know what I'm talking about. I feel the same way. I have heard people compare it to a comedian tickling their audience. Oh, I like the comparison. Yeah, it is like a comedian tickling their audience. Like, the stuff that's really, really humorous to me is going to stick in my head for a long time as, you know, a flawless, beautiful, excellent joke. In the same way that something that would scare me would stay in my mind for a very long time. I don't know. Depends on the time period, because in Silent Hill was released, they might have been familiar with Resident Evil and old horror movies like The Exorcist or Rosemary's Baby. Well, that's still like kind of familiarity and exposure to horror. Something in like the horror genre. I think what Tia was suggesting was, what if someone who'd never had any experience in horror or had the same experiences in the horror genre sat down and played the same game and had different reactions, and how come that could be the case? And I posit that that is partially, at least, informed by their exposure to the elements that that horror uses outside of a horror context. Maybe I don't have a good example right now. But I still do think that one can build a tolerance to horror and the way one does that is by knowing what is horrifying. And largely by knowing what is horrifying, because it's a subjective thing that goes on in the brain, or a subjective experience that goes on somewhere, whether it be as sort of consciousness or a soul or whatever is entirely up for further discussion elsewhere. But for now, it's something that goes on that is quite separate from the electrical signals.
Are we talking about how much chairman squealed during horror games last month?
That's exactly what we're talking
smiling
about.
Face.
Don't slightly smiling face me, but that's exactly what we're talking about. Yes. Perhaps that is like there is a distinction I want to make between the subjective experience of fear and the electrical signals my brain produced when a giant monster attacks me in a game. All of a sudden, right? Like there's a distinction I want to make there that I think is worth making. I don't yet know why. Why is that a distinction worth making? Perhaps that helps us appreciate horror. So horror games like Chili Peppers. I would say that there's some similarity between the two, in that there can be a certain level of tolerance built to it, but the tolerance is less a physical aspect. Like, it's not like if you get jump scared here. Okay, yeah, maybe I should put it this way. You could get jump scared 100 times and the next jump scare is still going to jump scare you, like in that you're going to flinch, and you're going to react to it, because I think that's less what you know about the unknown and more you're just psychologically prone to reacting to certain stimuli in such a way due to reasons beyond the scope of this discussion stream. Right? So you're still going to go, oh, when there's a jump scare. But as you grow familiar with horror and its genres, and or maybe like fear and how different creative artists explore that sensation, or what makes that sensation of fear, you grow tolerant to the things that usually scare people, such as gory stuff, dark lights, uncanniness, maybe. Or are they like kind of cornerstones of what will forever be scary? And it's less that you can grow tolerant to uncanniness, but you can grow tolerant to a certain type of uncanniness, and it's just more about figuring out a new way to make something uncanny again for you to be scared, right? Maybe that's where we're going. Maybe that's where we're going. It's less that one can get used to a certain aspect of horror, but more so a certain way it's done. And we keep finding new ways to do it. That's kind of the creative pursuit of horror. Can you repeat the question? That's a question more like me exploring out loud, verbalizing my thoughts as they go. Why it's worth distinguishing the sense, the subjective experience of fear and the brain signals that are sent when a big monster attacks me, or when I'm put into a creepy, dirty sewer underground somewhere, right? Like, there's a difference, or there's a distinction to be made, and I'm sort of just wondering out loud why we should make that distinction, if we can at all. Personally, I don't engage with a lot of horror, but wasn't fazed by much from the last month. If only Xion were in chat, as I'd love to figure out why he's scared of nothing and shed some light here. Why is he scared of nothing, man? It's not fair. But yeah, like, I maybe I'm just really good at immersing myself in stuff, and I do deeply think of myself as that person in that video game. Maybe. I don't know. Or that character in that movie, or, you know, the writer in that book. The narrator in that book. Is there some horror you'll never touch regardless of if it's full of scares? Would you play Subnautica till you reach the Leviathan next year, even though the game gives multiple ways to run or fight? Is there some horror I'll never touch regardless? There's a lot of horror I right now will never touch regardless that I hope eventually to change, but I don't know if I can. I'm a cognitive science major, so I kind of do have an explanation. Neuropsychology is my fave subject. Please drop that here now. Do that. Maybe it says, I can see how fears are brought out by experience versus a natural trait. For example, I have astrophobia, fear of thunder and lightning. Even though I live in a hurricane magnet, I've never experienced one. Unlike the rest of my family who have lived through several and are not scared of it, and I don't think they just grew a tolerance for it either, as even the youngest members are not scared. Interesting. So why is there so why does one have a natural fear, a phobia, that someone else doesn't, despite undergoing very similar circumstances? I don't know. I don't have a good answer, and I suspect that this is more child psychology. I'm not sure. This is definitely tracing the proverbial Darwinian footsteps, as it were, which is beyond the scope of me, I think. Would you eat bulldog ×2? No. I'm not having spicy food. Stop asking me. I will actually vomit and die on stream. I know I said that about Iron Lung, but like I might die for real from like something that spicy. Anyways, no, so that's where we are right now. That's where my head is right now. I'm really just exploring. This is a free flow exploration for my reactions to horror and making sense of all of it. Having played a month of horror games and read and watched things. I'm at the point now where I want to draw a distinction between the electrical signals in my brain the electrical signals in my brain versus the subjective sensation of fear that I feel. And that's like it's a hard line to draw. It's a hard line to draw because if you're skeptical, you can say, or one could try to argue, that there is no such thing as some sort of subjective sensation of fear. It's all just in your neurons in your brain. But I find that to be like a less interesting and, in my opinion, dismissive account of the human experience. I think that there is some sort of thing that is fear that cannot just be explained by my electrical signals firing. Like, yeah, okay, if I get exposed to the prospect that I might be in danger, although it is simulated, I'm really good at immersing myself in it. If I get exposed to the prospects of danger and I might die and I feel scared because I have an instinct or preservation or an instinct to preserve my life, then, that doesn't quite do it for me. That doesn't really explain enough, I suppose. Isn't a treatment for a phobia exposure therapy? That's one way, I imagine. One can treat a phobia. Is it like foolproof? No, like I don't think it works all the time, but like the fact that it is a viable method to me suggests that really the more you know about something, or the more you, and I don't just mean like reading a textbook. No, I mean like be involved with it in your lived experience and actually live through that. That kind of like that level of knowing and familiarity, I suppose, helps you acclimate to the things that you previously thought unknown to not be so unknown, right?
Love watching Chairman stream on company time.
Oh, Leo, I'm glad you're enjoying that, but also maybe get back to work, or maybe not. Maybe don't get back to work because work sucks. I don't know. Entirely your choice. Anyways, Estella says, horror movies and horror games react the same way as you would in the wild, so yeah, it's on how you are able to immerse yourself. It's a survival instinct. A person who has exposed themselves to horror has been able to make a difference between what is real and what is not. Yeah, so a lot of horror operates on like the you will die instinct that we have. And perhaps my instinct for preservation is so strong that like I react so strongly against it.
At TFairCH, so there is a correlation between spice and horror tolerance. Sample size, 2.
Sample size 2 is all that needed to be said there, I think. This subjective sensation of fear. What makes it? Why am I so afraid? I know why I react to a jump scare in a certain way. I know why certain aspects of a game or like a thing I'm immersing myself in might put me in a headspace that simulates danger, and why maybe perhaps psychologically, physiologically, I might react in a certain way because I'm averse to danger. But why do I feel fear too? Like why, and more importantly from that, why do people enjoy it? Why do people consume that? Like stuff that makes them, that puts them in that headspace. I think the latter question's easier than the former question actually, but I kind of want to save the latter for the end. for the ending bit. So, why am I scared? Maybe it's because you don't expose yourself too much to it. A person can also be more naturally sensitive than another. This is a roundabout way of you calling me sensitive, which I'm going to interpret positively because I think that's kind of true. I am probably just really sensitive to certain things, but that doesn't quite do it. That doesn't explain. Like, for example, like FNAF
has the PG.
Is FNAF scary? I don't know if
you feel
FNAF is
fear
scary.
for the fictional situation, and people enjoy it, isn't that in the field of empathy?
If you feel fear for the fictional situation and people enjoy it, isn't that in the field of empathy? I don't know what you mean. Do you mean people enjoy my fear? Or do you mean people enjoy the thing that I'm fearing? Because those are two different things. But, like, you know, what is scary and why is it scary? So many thoughts in my mind. Why does it scare me? Why does it scare me? There's a danger. There is a sense of the unknown. It preys on my primitive fight or flight responses, which can be stressful, and that is unpleasant.
So many articles on Google Scholar. Chop on it. 3.
I read the philosophy of horror, or at least a bit of that last year on stream. It was a text by Noel Carroll, and I just couldn't read it, not because it was too scary, but because it was too boring, and it was way too, like, if X is fear, then if X amount of fear causes this amount of stress, and it's like that. I was like, we're going way, we're straying way too far from what it's all about. You know, that's like the way I saw it. I feel like you can't properly think about horror at an arm's length. Like, you have to be in it. You have to be frightful. You need to be fearful. You need to be frightened. Maybe that was the word I was looking for. You need to be scared. You need to be scared to you know, meaningfully discuss what scared you and why it did. Part of it may be because I am compelled quite easily into immersing myself in media, and that's why I'm scared of so many things. Is I can totally imagine myself working at a pizzeria where the lights and the doors take, you know, cost battery life to operate and to lock. And there were haunted animatronics, or maybe not like haunted, but certainly things were out to get me. Like, it doesn't matter what's in the Freddy Fazbear suit. It doesn't matter. No, not really. What matters is just more that I can imagine being in a situation where I am vulnerable to someone who wants to kill me, and I have to and I'm confined in a very small space and do not have a lot of control over that situation. And maybe because I'm so good at immersing myself in those things, I was scared of everything that was thrown my way. And I think people who are less scared may partially, from certain horror things, right, may partially be because they can't immerse themselves in it. Is that a good line of thought to pursue? I literally just said that, so maybe your imagination is too good and you can see yourself experiencing what the main character is going through. I said that before you said it, okay? I was in my head, I was saying it, okay? When you connect to the scary situation, people like seeing that connection, that liking of seeing displaying of humanity is an easily enjoyable empathy. So what you're suggesting is why people like watching me get jump scared is because I am really good at immersing myself in something. And that invokes a sense of empathy from the person watching it. I don't know, maybe. I want to ask my professors now. Please do. Please ask your professors. It'd be an interesting and a fun topic. You are a shitty empath. Fuck you. Since I'm at the dorms, my phone constantly asks if I want to connect to X TV device. I'm compelled to jump scare random people with the first and last philosopher. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. I don't want to be on TV. I don't want to be known. I don't want to be perceived by anyone who is... That's the worst thing. That's the word. Now, that's real fear. Real fear is my social embarrassment. And not adhering to, like, the exact social rules that are laid out. Like, that's real. That's what I fear. I would hate to be like, I would hate to be what's on the phone of someone on public transport who's watching something really loudly and on speaker without a care for the world at all. Like, I would hate to be the thing on the phone. Like, that would be really bad for me. It'd be a bad look. It'd be a bad look. Okay. If this is you, this is your fault. And I want you to feel bad now and stop doing that. So it's in part about one's mindset in the moment. When I play scary games, I just focus on what to do next. Don't really have time to feel fear. Maybe, yeah, maybe that could be the case. And that's why you're not so scared of it, is because you're focused entirely on, like, the fact that it's a game and the game can be completed and it can be played and done. Whereas when I'm playing a horror game, I'm entirely immersed. Like, you're playing it almost maybe like a task. You're like, I need to complete this task and I'm going to just block out what is unnecessary in the completion of this task. Whereas when I play a horror game, I'm super immersed in the story or in, like, the scariness of it, because in part it's because the game, I think, it wants me to be scared and to be in that headspace and to focus less on, okay, walk to these objectives, click this button, interact with this object, go here next, shoot this guy, do that. And, like, it, to me, it's entirely, I don't think that when I'm playing a video game. I don't think I need to complete this objective so I can get my gold or XP and I can get out to the credits and get out of here. Like, I say that, but, like, I'll say that out loud when I'm playing a game. I'll be like, I just, like, when I was playing Iron Lung, all the time, I just kept saying, I just need to go to this coordinate. I just need to go here. X just needs to be 520. Y just needs to be 200. I need to just, like, and I just need to go to X200. I just need to go to X200. And, like, and I hold down forward and I'm closing my eyes and I'm saying this and I'm repeating this mantra because deep down, I want to tell myself this is just a video game and I'm not scared and none of this shit is real. Like, and but the reason I'm saying this is because because I can't overcome the loudest voice in my head, which is like, you're in a submarine and something might kill you and it would be really bad if something killed you, right? And, like, I think that's a part of it. I think that's at least what causes fear in me. It's the fact that I am so immersed in that thing to begin with, and I'm entirely detached from the fact that it's a video game or the fact that it's a book or the fact that it's a movie, or at least I try to when I'm consuming it. Which is why, for example, even though the horror in Call of Cthulhu by H.P. Lovecraft was really well done, especially for its time, fantastic read. Well, almost fantastic read. If it weren't for the fact that, like, Lovecraft is violently racist, and, like, not violently, that's not the right word. I don't think he's ever been violent about it, but I'm unsure. Okay, I don't know exactly, but he's aggressively racist. Like, H.P. Lovecraft is aggressively racist, and it comes across very much so in the Call of Cthulhu, such that when I get to those bits where I'm just trying to get to, like, the unknown horrors, the eldritch depths, and then he starts going on a tangent about how some people are inferior. Like, that totally takes me out of it. That completely kills the immersion for me, and then I'm not scared anymore, because then I'm just thinking, oh, right, yeah, this guy's like a huge, like, yeah, he's scarily racist. Like, this guy was a huge bigot. And that makes it, like, not scary and more just, okay, I'm analyzing this as a text. And maybe that's why I didn't feel the chills when I was reading it, is because that just took me out of the experience so much. We gotta put you on Times Square. Iron Lung jump scare on the giant ball. No, please. No, please. Don't blast my streams on the bus. Don't do that. So if you play Escape the Backrooms, how would you immerse yourself to believe that you know clipped out of the reality? So if I accidentally did that and wasn't intended by the game devs for me to do that, then that would take me out of the game and I wouldn't be as scared. But if everything went as intended in that horror experience, crafted intentionally to strike fear into me, I would be probably very scared, yes. Part of maybe also why that's the case is, or furthermore on this point, right? Part of what makes something scary for me is the fact that I immerse myself in it. And I truly believe in that moment that I'm in that like situation. Can be explained by the fact that I wasn't as scared in Little Nightmares 3, or at least it wasn't that bad. I wasn't nearly as scared in 3 as I was in 1, partially because I was playing the game with Exion, and I was still immersed in the game too, but I wasn't as immersed as when I was playing single player, because when I would play any game that single player, I would always think like I'm in the situation. I am the main character. I'm in the driver's seat. Something's happening and it rests entirely on me what happens. When I'm with Exion, I can think like, we're just two friends hanging out and playing a video game, and that's no biggie, you know, and that's cool. Like, I'm obviously trying to immerse myself, but a part of me is never going to be fully immersed because we're streaming and we're talking about the game, I suppose. Likewise, it would be even more terrifying, even scarier, if I were to play a horror game by myself and not stream it. If I didn't stream it and I just played it alone, I would be way more scared. I'd be so much more terrified. The presence of other people helps make something less scary to me because that helps me, or that lessens my immersion of the thing. This is why we're opposites. I'm doing the opposite where I'm going, okay, I have to do this and something might kill me, but in my head I'm going, go to the X coordinate by pressing this button. I see. Interesting. My head is always screaming, something will kill me, I'm gonna die. And then that's why I need to or at least I tried to overpower that by saying out loud the simple task that's set in place, or the fact that it's a video game and it's not real. No wonder you gravitate towards story-based games. What a fascinating man. ENTJ moment. Oh, ENTJ moment is in response to the opposite, where like in your head you think, I just need to go to this button. I need to go to this coordinate and press this button. And then maybe on the outside you're saying, oh, I'm gonna die. Something's gonna kill me. Interesting. Interesting. I think I was at that at one point, but with enough repetition changed the way I thought about stuff. Perhaps. I can imagine if I did this 1,000 times, it would be less. I feel
like you get in your own head a lot about horror in the horror games.
I feel like I do that too, but I also feel like that's part of it. I'm supposed to get in my head. I'm doing it right. I think I'm doing it right by being scared. I'm engaging in it in the way the author intended, perhaps. They want me to be scared. That's the whole point, right? And thusly, I am terrified. So, okay, here's another example that might support this line of thought, right? Five Nights at Freddy's was really, really scary the first time around. The first time I played it, and maybe for the first 3-4 nights, maybe the first 3 nights, it was still kind of scary. But as we went on, sure, the difficulty ramped up, the monsters appeared more often, and it was harder to min-max and balance out like the controls or whatnot. But at that point, it felt more like the video game I needed to complete, and less, oh my god, I'm a guy sitting there in a pizzeria, and it's haunted, and I can't do anything, and there are giant animatronics that are trying to kill me. Like, by dying enough in FNAF and being exposed to it so much, it became less of a situation and more of a video game. More of a, okay, I need to check on Freddy. I need to click on Freddy and then bounce between Freddy and Foxy's cove to make sure they don't approach, and then ignore the other two on the camera, the other two, Chica and Bonnie. Chica and Bonnie. And the way I check for them is just by flashing my light left and right. And so eventually when I fell into that rhythm, the game wasn't as scary anymore. It was still scary in the sense that like I was anxious that I might fail. But the moment I failed, I wasn't still like, oh my god, that was terrifying. Like, I failed and I was like, oh fuck, I have to do it again. I'm so annoyed. I hate this. I'm so stressed out. I'm anxious. I'm stressed out and I'm anxious. But ultimately, I don't think I was very much in the state of fear. As opposed to, well, Iron Lung, right? But that can be explained by both my immersion to it and also my familiarity with it. Which I think are two good like launching pads for discussing what is the phenomena of fear exactly, precisely in its difference, as opposed to electrical signals in my brain go burr, right? Eventually, you'll be so good with horror that you're going to rebrand and be the horror philosophy tuber. I'm not going to, and let me get to that in a second. I won't. I don't know. Maybe I might, but like I wouldn't. Even if I were good, I wouldn't enjoy it, and I don't know why I wouldn't enjoy it. But like that's the end. That's like kind of where we're getting to. I want to make sure that we explore everything we can here first, before we move on to the next room, as it were. You're thinking of the abstract. Sorry, Ari, you're saying you're thinking in the abstract so much that you ignore the particulars, I think. The particulars being the details of the mechanics of the game. It's like once you know how the sausage is made and all. Yeah, that's part of it, right? And the particulars help you ground yourself in that experience and make the experience more familiar and thereby less scary because you know more about it, right? The moment I understand how the camera works, really how the camera works, and how the lights work and how the doors work in FNAF, it's less scary because I know how the game works. The particulars I'm focusing on, rather than the abstract of, oh my god, I'm sitting there in my room and there are animatronics trying to kill me. Infamous dog hater Charis Euphranor going through the sewers to save his cute Shiba Inu if he plays Lost in Vivo. I don't know if I will play that game. I don't know what that is, but I don't know if that'll happen to me. But I'm not a dog hater either. I just I'm neutral. My feelings are neutral towards most animals. Neutral / fearful. If I'm continuing with the game metaphor, Hannah says, the way I feel now about horror is I don't feel much unless there's like a game-breaking glitch, and then I'm like, okay, wait, now I need to know about that. How many people has it affected? How did this happen? Could it be patched out, etc.? It's kind of like maybe you've walked so much of the horror kind of gauntlet. You've gone through so much of the gauntlet that you're familiar with the way the genre is executed upon, usually. And as you understand it, like once you play one FNAF, you've played all FNAFs. That's like a bad way to express that point because that implies that the others are not worth playing and like it's all derivative or whatever. But it's like it's not just FNAF. It's like, you know, they're derivative to some extent. They're all the games are derivative to some extent in that they derive from common points. I'm drawn more towards the experience of the mystery of having my expectations averted so far left and finding out all I can about a subject. Right, because you're so familiar with horror already as a genre, and you're less like you're interested in like exploring what tingles that fear in you, rather than what pushes the same neurological button in your mind, as it were, right? Because like you know already, okay, if you play a loud noise and you put something on my screen suddenly, it'll jump scare me, but I want to feel that uneasiness, that unsettling like sense of fear that is present in certain like, or maybe was present in certain horror things to you that you don't find compelling anymore because it feels like I've already done that. Like I already know what that is. I need the bigger thing. I need the bigger hit. This is so like a drug addict, basically. I don't think that's the case. I think I can see why that happens. And I can see why people who want to delve, I can see that if you want to chase that sensation of fear again, why you would desperately search around in horror games to look for something good, hopefully. That to me makes sense. What doesn't make sense yet, as I'll try to explore in a little bit, is why you want more of that in the first place. Because I felt that and I hated that. Oh my god, I don't want that fear. I don't want to feel fear. I'm scared of fear. I don't like fear. I suspect that the reason you, or maybe one, does enjoy it is catharsis, but, you know, that's the preview to the answer I have in mind for it. Is like, it's cathartic, right? What I hate the most about horror games is that enemies can kill me, but I can't kill them, so unfair. I prefer engaging in sportsman-like duels over dealing with cheap trickery. Well, there are some horror games where you can kill the monsters. Do you find those scary, right? Like, Silent Hill is an example where you fight back, right? Or Resident Evil maybe is an example where you fight back. I'm not sure exactly. I'm unfamiliar with those. But there's some horror games where you do fight back. Do you find those scary? I don't know. Or do you dislike them? I don't know. Vile Exhumed deeply unsettled me in a way that wasn't pleasurable, but was interesting and thought-provoking. Do you think... So it didn't scratch exactly the same itch, because ultimately it wasn't pleasurable? Or did it scratch exactly the same itch because it wasn't pleasurable? Was Vile Exhumed then a horror experience that you enjoyed? And was that a horror... Was that the horror you wanted? Is that what you wanted? Because that was not at all what I wanted. In the sense that, like, I did not like the fear that it induced in me. But overall, looking back, I can see how the medium was explored in an interesting way, like the medium of a video game. Sorry for this side tangent, but have you felt the same sense of horror when reading or watching the Shibuya arc in JJK? Because the parts where they trapped the civilians in the subway made me take a step back. I see. No, actually. Strangely enough, I didn't. And part of that is because I didn't really immerse myself in JJK as, like, I am the protagonist or, like, I am part of this world. What draws me into JJK is, or part of what compels me is, like, the fact that how distant that world feels, maybe? I didn't feel that because I wasn't immersed in it, I suppose. But not in, like, the sense that, like, I wasn't watching and I was on my phone or whatever. No, as in, like, I wasn't immersed because I was, or I felt that in the JJK Shibuya arc example, like I'm watching an anime. Like I didn't feel like I'm in this situation. I'm in the subway and my best friends and colleagues are dying left and right and there are monsters everywhere and innocent civilians are trapped and I feel helpless. Like to me, it wasn't like I feel that and I'm in there. And it's more like someone else is in this situation and that's interesting. And perhaps, and it's a good thing that you mentioned that because perhaps that's why I'm so much more terrified of like games. Because games make me feel a certain fear that like text and film couldn't. I've watched certain films that are scary films, like It is one that comes to mind immediately. Get Out is the more recent example that we watched. It's not, the film isn't recent, but it's recent in my mind, right? But it was like scary in the sense that it was loud and, you know, it was unpleasant, but I didn't feel very much the fear of it because I just didn't really see myself in that world. As well as, or as much as I saw myself in the world of Higurashi when they cry, right? If I can, Tia, you're saying, if I can fight back, it's not a horror game, it's a conquest. Interesting. To me, it's like, it's a horror game if there's something spooky. If there's something spooky, if there's something that is just a little bit unsettling in the traditional sense of like a corpse or, you know, like a skeleton or a big monster, like I'm immediately, it's immediately a horror game to me. And the question is just like, how much can I detach from the game?
He will never play Indigo Park.
I don't know about never, but I'm not interested in it too much. Val Exhumed's whole ordeal was to make you experience the horrors that happen to women at the hands of men from the perspective of the perpetrator. It was incredibly disturbing in a necessary way. If that game was delivered in any other way, the message of it would not have hit his heart. I think I agree. So, so Zero, you're saying that like that is like part of the whole point, right? That's what makes it scary in that sense, but not in like a fun horror sense, in like a this is deeply unsettling but important sense, right? Yeah, I agree. I think so. I think I agree. This is supposed to be an RPG. What am I role-playing as? The fucking victim? Oh. I don't know what the original clip was, but I just remember the edit on like phase 2 of an Elden Ring boss, and I did feel that as well. So, like, I feel like Val Exhumed is interesting in that, like, it perhaps is not, or does it? Fear? I don't know. It does instill fear in me. I felt fear in, like, that in how real it was. Val Exhumed is something I'm hesitant to discuss because I haven't covered it on this channel, but there was a playthrough on Discord. I didn't play it. Someone else did it. Zero, you played it. And we kind of had a discussion on it afterwards. But because it wasn't on this channel, I'm a bit hesitant to, like, you know, talk about it because people might not understand where that comes from. But essentially, yeah, that everything I said about it just now is the summary of the game. You roleplay. I think the game is a short experience of analog horror where you play as someone with you play a simulation of someone's computer. This person is an abusive stalker who
It's digital
eventually
horror, but whatever.
eventually captures his victim, and it kind of like it's supposed to be like a deep dive into a simulation of like the real but sort of like very extreme instances of violence against women. Yeah, that's really the best way to put it. It's digital horror, but whatever. Okay, yeah, it's like that. Whatever, man. I don't know exactly what it was. The original audio was a clip from a guy's Kingdom Hearts playthrough. There's no way that was the original clip, right? Kingdom Hearts? Okay, whatever. Maybe it was, and the context would explain it. But anyways, that's the whole. That I think is the getting to the subjective fear. It's the being immersed in it, and also the it's the being immersed in that fear, but also not knowing what would happen exactly. And they play into each other. It's because I can believe for a moment that I'm in danger, or I'm in that situation that is meant to stimulate that part of my brain. And yeah. Sorry, I'm a little shaky because I'm just not sure how to put it. I'm immersed and I don't know what will happen. I'm immersed at the anxiety and the possibility of something happening, something particularly bad, and unsure how to proceed. And that's what's causing the anxiousness of it all. When we don't know how to proceed, when we're faced with choices in life and we don't know how to act upon them, that is, as one of my favorite thinkers would like to posit, the source of anxiety, at least of a certain type of anxiety. And oh, I'm getting somewhere. Sorry, I'm getting somewhere. I think I'm getting somewhere. That dizziness, that anxiety, that like I don't know what to do next is unpleasant and perhaps present in daily life. I was gonna like lead into the final section, but I feel like we still have something to talk about here. But that was what I was gonna do was I was gonna lead into the maybe the final bit of the discussion where I wanted to touch upon what or like why one might enjoy a horror game. At least why I suspect someone would. In the original clip for the audio, like the RPG victim audio, he's getting jumped by 3 cloaked figures with lightsabers. I see. Love horror games but hate roller coasters. See, like that's weird to me because I love roller coasters and I hate horror games. And I think for a weird reason, because as I said, I'm so good at immersing myself and really believing that a horror game, like I'm in the horror game and it will kill me. And because of that, like I'm so bad with it. But then when I'm on a roller coaster, on the other hand, even though it's in real life and it's actually my life at stake, I have so much trust in like the people who manage the amusement park and the rides there that I don't feel stressed at all. Like I feel like this was safety checked. There's no way I die from this. And because I know that, it's fun. I'm not trying to, I'm not in my head constantly telling myself, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Whereas when I'm playing a horror game, what is happening is in my head, I'm thinking, I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm so dead. This is going to kill me. The monster's going to jump out, I'm going to die. Right? And I think that dissonance is so interesting between, well, you and I think my experience versus other people's experience. This is why I like roller coasters, or at least I'm really good with roller coasters. I don't feel fear from them. And I don't like horror games, or at least I'm not very good with them. With managing my stress and my anxiety and my fear in that. But yeah, roller coasters, I enjoy them because they're thrilling and they are fast and it feels good to have the wind blast onto my face and to go really fast. I just like enjoy that, I think. And part of what makes it enjoyable for me and not scary is because I know I'm not going to die. Or at least I'm so faithful. Or I have so much faith. I have so much faith in the people running the damn ride that I wouldn't feel fear at all. If the ride were designed in a way to be a scary ride, or, well, they couldn't because they couldn't actually kill me. If they actually killed me in like the amusement park, then they would suffer way too much, like in lawsuits and in complaints that like there's no way they would take that risk. And in that sense, I think, therefore, I'm perfectly safe. Whereas in a horror game, because I'm immersing myself as the character, they could kill me. Sure, I wouldn't in real life die, but like they could kill my character and I'm my character. I'm Leon. I am Leon Resident Evil. Like that's me. Is he from Resident Evil or is he from, I was gonna say Breaking Bad. No, Silent Hill. I am Leon Resident Evil. That's me for real, right? Like if I were to play that game. And so when he dies, I think, oh my god, I died. I'm on the roller coaster. I know it's me, but I know like I'm never gonna die because they couldn't afford the lawsuit coming their way if I did. I think it's Leon Kennedy. I'm pretty sure it's Leon Resident Evil, actually. His last name is Resident Evil. Listen, the roller coaster isn't going to kill me, but I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of heights too. But like when I'm high on a roller coaster, it won't kill me. I'm safe. That's why I can understand like being afraid of heights, but I'm also like
Leon Resident Evil.
maybe some of the fear of heights I can understand. Because for example, I've got no problems being on a plane. I've got no problems being on a hot air balloon too, because I just feel safe. Like I feel like there's no way. I feel like there are expert people around me to navigate this craft and they couldn't possibly fuck this up because they're held to very high standards and rigorous testing before they're even allowed to pilot this damn thing. Yeah, I do like to go Neum, yeah. You enjoy roller coasters the same way dogs enjoy sticking out their heads outside of a moving car? Yeah, maybe. Maybe I do. Maybe I am a dog sticking my tongue outside of a car. But also, like, I enjoy being on vehicles in general. And I think part of that could very likely be the fact that I've never been in a vehicular accident, I think. Like, I enjoy being in a car or in a van or in a plane or whatever, because I've never had a bad experience with them. In the end, they kind of, so I have no reason to fear, and I trust the people who drive them. That's not true. I've had bad experiences. I've not ever crashed, but I have been on like buses with like insane drivers on them who like go way over the speed limit and made me fear for my life. Like, that shit has happened, but generally it doesn't, so I feel safe, I think. I've been into so many planes I fall asleep immediately as I sit down. Honestly, same. Like, I bring like so many books and like games I prepared on my Switch and on my phone and on my like Ally or whatever. Like, I've got like so much shit, and then like I have readings and I have like things to write. I've got like a bucket list of shit I should start drafting now, and then I get on the plane and I just knock out. Like, I just immediately honk me. But that's a side tangent. But you know, that's because I was fortunate enough to have been on enough plane rides in my lifetime to not fear that, to not worry about that at all, I think. I love car rides, but I don't know, my ass gets motion sick. I don't know. I sometimes I get motion sick, but it's not very often. Can sleep on planes and not scared of planes, yet somehow on every plane ride with turbulence, I'm like, this is it. This is how I die. I don't know. I don't even get scared when turbulence happens, because I just think, like, they'll handle it.
If something happens, at least you'll be asleep.
True. If I'm asleep, then, like, if it kills me, then it kills me in my sleep, sure. I won't be fearing in my final moments, you know. I will be at a peaceful slumber. Deep within my dreamscape. Probably not dreaming about Five Nights at Freddy's. I want to get into nightmares before we get into the final section, but I feel like that's too different of a discussion. Because I'll have nightmares, but I don't fear the nightmares. The nightmares may be unpleasant. Or maybe the nightmares speak to fears of mine, actually, that are real life fears. Like, I don't know. Let's not talk about nightmares, because I feel like I'll drift too far away from the subject matter. I want to be a bit more focused on the discussion for today. Can't remember the last time I had a nightmare. I can't relate. I had a nightmare like 2 days ago, I think, and it really, like, it didn't fuck me up, but like I kind of forgot it. The thing with the night, I'm not gonna tell you because it's like way too personal. But I had a nightmare, and then I woke up, and I think I forgot that nightmare.
If I have nightmares, though, they involve my family or loved ones being in danger.
Yeah, that was roughly my nightmare. Except it was like, that was basically my nightmare. It was like loved ones and family in danger of some kind that I'm not going to get into details of. That is, you know. And part of what made it scary was because like something similar had happened in real life, and I'm dreaming about it, and it to me like felt like, oh shit, like if this is way too real. Like when I was dreaming it felt way too real. But like when I woke up, I didn't even remember it. Actually, like I just woke up, went about my day, and then something reminded me of the dream I had the night before. And it was like, I don't know, it was probably like 11 in the morning or so. And then I felt a wave of like fear just wash over me. Like, oh fuck. And I don't know how to describe it. I don't know. I had nightmares like 5 times a week until recently due to PTSD. My condolences, but hey, it's great that you're doing better. It's fantastic that you're doing better now. PTSD buddies. Everyone in this chat is like traumatized. No, right? Well, generally I don't dream at all 90%, 5% of the time. Then sometimes I'll have a few days almost straight of just dream after dream. Interesting. I wish I could just not dream because I don't like dreaming. If it's a good dream, I wake up and it's like, damn, all those nice things that happened, they never did. That sucks. Now I'm back in reality. If it's a bad dream, I wake up and I think, oh my god, it was so unpleasant. My brain just made me experience this unpleasant thing of its own volition, and I don't get to do anything about that. That sucks, you know? Either way, I don't like having dreams at all. I just want to go to sleep and then wake up and like fully rested. Speaking of which, I should do that soon. Guys, your audience is mentally ill girls. How do you feel about that? That's not true. My audience is maybe like 60% mentally ill girls and 40% mentally ill boys.
Lucid dreams are a thing, Chairman, LOL.
I know they are a thing, but they don't help me when I'm like when I'm fearing for my life or for my, you know, family's life or something in that simulated environment, in that dream, right? Anyways, I guess now's the best time to get into it now, finally, right? So why do people like it? We're like an hour or 50 minutes, like it's almost been 2 hours, and we still haven't actually gotten to the core of maybe why people like it. Not, though, just in the sense that, oh, these things are pleasurable, but like, but how come, despite the uneasiness, the unpleasant sort of emotions that are intentionally invoked in someone, we nonetheless enjoy that? That feels very paradoxical. It feels not, it doesn't feel right. Like, I understand, for example, it makes a lot of sense why people enjoy action movies, right? It makes a lot of sense why people enjoy romantic movies. They stimulate parts of the brain that find that pleasurable. The adrenaline pumping action sequences, or the heart pounding like romance that takes place. And one can disagree, or one can perhaps say, oh, that's not for me, but still acknowledge that it makes sense why people like it, right? Zero has to go. All right, see you later, Zero. See you later. Classic, always forgetting about the non-binary. I didn't I didn't forget about them. They left me, statistically speaking, on my channel, okay? There are 0% NBs. That's your fault. Not you, but like, that's your fault, potential NB listening, who for some reason is not registered on Google that way. Zero percent user specified, all right? Which is like the only other option between like male and female. So, actually, it's your fault. I'm the weirdo that enjoys natural disaster / apocalyptic movies. Could it be related to why people enjoy roller coasters, spicy food, etc.? I'm unsure. Yeah, I'm blaming them. That's right. In the singular and the plural. Them in both the singular and the plural. Chicken and egg thing because you forget them first and they leave. There's no way, because every time I mention my statistics, I always mention that there's 0% user specified. I always mention that the NBs are not present. At least in my statistics. And if you NB here and like you're not represented, don't blame me. That's not my fault. It's Google's fault, okay? It's Google's fault. It's probably the same reason we love alcohol. It's a coping mechanism that we as humans can bond over. Nuh-uh, I don't think so, because...
I've heard that YT tends to count women / NBS as men at a disproportionate rate.
Does it? That's interesting, because right now I'm on like 25% men. Dude, it's so over. The men don't like me anymore. I need to appeal to men. I need to do another like male loneliness epidemic stream. No, but like, it's like 75-25. Those are the stats right now. I like my mind to be intrigued and scared rather than my body to feel like it's in physical danger, I guess. Interesting.
5 Hearts does have a sequel, Chairman.
I'm not playing the 5 Art sequel. At least not yet. At least wait till February. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I'm ready to play it now, man. I don't know. Anyways, okay. Why do people like it? My first instinct, my first response for why people might like or enjoy horror, despite it being like, and not just enjoy horror games for some reason, but I don't mean the games. I mean, why do they enjoy the sensation of horror, the subjective experience of fear? Why is that enjoyable? I posit that this sensation precedes catharsis. I think that part of the enjoyment of it is that it ends. It's in a controlled environment where certain scary things happen to you. You might die. Oh my God. Oh no. What could happen next? But then it ends. And when it does end, you feel that sense of relief, that catharsis, that release, that like, whew, that wasn't so bad. I made it. It was nice. I enjoyed that. That was great. Cool. Not in the sense like I enjoyed all the bits that were unpleasant, but in like in overcoming the unpleasant aspects of it. I feel more at ease with myself and with the world, because if those simulated horrors can be conquered, defeated, overcome, survived, if this scary clown demon monster couldn't get me, then you know what? Like, I can survive being an adult. I can survive being on my own. I can survive being lonely sometimes. I can survive having to do my taxes. I can survive this next job application, God forbid. I can survive all of that, maybe. Or I can survive going out despite the constant lurking danger of men who want to stab you. You know, like there's I imagine there's a catharsis in horror because that I suspect resonates with people who feel fear in real life due to certain circumstances totally out of your control. And the more you delve into horror, the more you fully understand where that fear comes from, the more at ease you feel, or the more in control you feel, perhaps, of your emotions and how you can respond to things in real life that pop up that might induce fear in similar ways. And that feels good, like we're at ease, like I can control this, like this is fine, this is within my limits and my boundaries, and it's not too far and I can take it, right? And perhaps that helps with the anxiety of real life. That, I think, is my best guess for why people like not just like horror games or horror films and that, but I do mean like the essence, the sensation, the subjective experience of fear, of being scared. I think that's why. I think that it's because that it's not that thing itself that people gravitate towards, it's that the cathartic feeling that comes after that people gravitate to. Am I correct? Please tell me I'm right. Please justify, please validate my conclusions. I played a whole month of horror games to try to earnestly speak on this point, okay? Oh. How's that not similar to alcohol? The ideal environment for getting drunk is 10 feet from spawn point? What do you mean spawn point? Like 10 feet from your mother? What? What do you mean? The ideal environment for getting drunk is 10 feet from your spawn point. I don't drink next to my mom. What are you talking about? I can, but I don't often do because she's not fun to be around when I'm drunk. I'd rather be with my friends, but you do you, I guess. I love sad songs, though. Right, and it could be the same thing, I think. It could be that catharsis. That, like, so it's not the negativeness of that thing that you're drawn to. It's more the catharsis from that, the emotional release that helps you get to, that draws you to it. I get like a weird sick enjoyment out of horror. I think like body horror especially is cool for me. But like, why is that? That's what I'm trying to maybe poke at. You don't have to answer what you think if you don't want to. But like, what I think is that ultimately, perhaps what people are drawn to is the, okay, it's over. And you know what? If I could survive that, my real life shit seems more manageable in comparison now. Something about distortion of a sense of self, IDK. Could be, I don't know. So why does body horror intrigue you? Is it, you know, why do you think that may be the case? I don't like body horror, so I don't really get it, so I can't really speak on your behalf, but like, I don't know. I actually have no idea. I don't know. I couldn't even speculate. That shit is just gross to me. I meant like your bed. Oh, okay. Like your Minecraft bed spawn point. Okay. No, man. I'm not getting drunk 10 feet next to my bed either. I'm getting drunk somewhere else. And then hopefully I get to my bed without dying, right? That's the idea. I'm trying to crawl back to my spawn point. Anyways, I don't think alcohol is similar. I appreciate the contribution, but I do disagree in that I don't think alcohol is a similar enjoyment, because alcoholic enjoyment is more like the psychological effect that substance has that eases tension in some areas and loosens inhibitions, perhaps. That enables me to do more things with friends and be in a state of blissful happiness. Maybe not happiness, but a blissful, like, euphoria, I suppose. It's a fascination. I find a fascination in things I don't understand or would otherwise be drawn away from, like when you witness a car accident and can't pull your eyes away. So morbid curiosity, right? That's the, like, you really want to know that really morbid thing. Alcohol can also be an enjoyment due to the social factor. And I'm sure if you really wanted to, you can find like overlaps between that and like horror, but I just don't think that's the way to think about horror. At least that's not conducive to the previous premises set out that we are kind of just gonna believe in. We're just gonna assume that, yeah, we are scared, or at least I am. I'm gonna assume that I'm scared of things I don't know, and dangerous situations that I am easily able to immerse myself in. Like if I can immerse myself in something, or because I can immerse myself in things really well, horror games tend to not have to be very spooky for me to feel spooked. Because the better the game, the more immersed you are in it, right? Is that right? Is that right? The better the game, the more immersed you are? Is that right? Is the better the horror piece of media, the more you're able to immerse yourself in that and forget that it's a film or a book or a game. You're just in the moment. And the better it is at immersing you in that experience, the better of a piece of horror it is, or a piece of media in general it is. Is that true? Ooh, the horror of social interaction gatherings. Sorry if that's too scary for a philosopher like you. You have no idea how scary it is when there are more than like 5 people that I don't know. Like on a relatively personal level. Because I can deal with maybe like 10 people I know personally. But like I can't deal with more than 5 that I don't know or am unfamiliar with. Because they could like definitely kidnap me. Honestly, 1 person could. That's why I don't like No, that's not true. I did that today. I went out and I socialized today, but that's a story for another time. Anyways, I suppose to wrap up like my brief thoughts on my reflections on the month of horror. I think people are scared of the unknown. And I think part of what makes something scary, or part of what makes a piece of horror media scary, not like a situation, not like, I'm not talking about like, non-fictional things that are scary, like for example being in a dangerous situation where there could be very serious things happening around you, like I don't know, being around like an actual murderer, you know. Is death scary then? I think it generally is a scary thing because most people fear it. I think I fear it too, but I don't fear the death in the abstract. I fear death in like the immediate sense of like dying and like losing access to the world. Like if, you know, I got struck by lightning and died, like what I fear more is like I'm hurt, ouch, and no, I wanted to go talk to my parents one more time and my friends. Maybe not you guys. I wouldn't I wouldn't spend my final moment streaming, I think. I hope not. But you know, like that's more like the immediate fear for me. Death is Stranding. Kojima said so. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. I fear death of family and friends more than death of myself. Yeah. I think like I think I resonate with that. I think I resonate with. It's close. I don't know if it's exactly more. It's close. Like I fear death of myself, but I also really fear death of family and loved ones. So I'm not sure. I'm sad that I couldn't finish everything I wanted. Yeah, like that's like, damn, I really wanted to get all these things done. And like in really, really abstract sense, like death is part of a cycle of life. That is just what defines life, is that it dies. I guess, if you want to go through the whole defining life thing. Which is, oh boy. But yeah, one of the most defining traits of life is that it ends, maybe, is a way to put it. This is like a topic for a different VTuber for another time, I think. My biggest fear is dying after getting chased by the Saratoga morning routine. I don't know what that is. Guru. This is probably like some person on a TikTok. Controversial opinion, I don't fear my own death that much, but I also don't fear the death of people I don't know, that I know could die soon. Is it like... I don't know if it's controversial. Like, you don't fear the death of someone you're expecting to die who's like, you know, 90 years old, because, you know, they're like, you're like, they lived most of their life. But if it's a sudden thing, that unexpectedness of it, that perhaps inspires fear in you, because horror is what is, even though it shouldn't be. You know, I'm coming around to that quote. Horror is that which is that shouldn't be. I think that's the quote, right? I hope I'm not messing that up. I think that was the quote. I'd like to stream my experience of death, but it ties too much to personal... Okay, then don't worry about that. Like, don't worry about it. But yeah, like, this is, I would say, these are my concluding thoughts on horror, I suppose. Is that I think I get it on like an intellectual level. I think people find catharsis in horror games. But personally, I don't. I feel fear, but I don't quite feel the catharsis from that fear. Wait, why is that? Hold on, that's... Why is it that I don't find any catharsis from like finishing a horror game or reading a horror thing? I can appreciate the craftsmanship that goes behind it. I can appreciate how well structured it is. I can appreciate the messages and the themes of it that are expressed through the horror genre. And I'm appreciating the themes. I'm appreciating the ideas, the messaging. But I'm not appreciating the horror itself, the scariness itself, the death itself. Why am I not? Why do I not like it at all? Why does it not give me any catharsis when I finish a game? Part of it might be because I do, although I can immerse myself very easily in fictional media, fictional horror, I'm also very quick to come out of it, or I'm quick to not think about that when I'm in real life. I don't really entangle fiction and nonfiction together. I find it to be a strength of mine to be able to distinguish between those two things and hold that difference. Yeah, to like maintain that difference in my head. And because of that, I don't really feel like, oh, because I conquered like Freddy Fazbear, I can do my real life stuff more. Like I'll still feel just as anxious about things in real life, but I don't know. I don't feel catharsis. I don't feel like oh, that was good. I needed to be scared, because maybe why is that? Because I'm scared all the time? Well, I'm not really scared. I feel fear too in real life, but not very often. Not very often do I feel fear. Sometimes I feel fear. I do. I don't know. I don't know. You don't feel like you achieved anything with horror? Well, I felt like I learned more about it, but I don't feel like it did anything for me personally, emotionally. It felt as though it did something for me personally in that, like, I have grown now. I am a better person because I understand this facet of media better, and that allows me to empathize with other people's struggles and feelings and likes and dislikes, and helps me humanize other people as a part of a larger project in my life. You know, like that may be, like, in an abstract sense. In that sense, I liked the experiences this month, but I didn't like the experiences in that, like, I didn't feel like good. I felt fear. I really felt genuine, terrifying fear I felt, but I didn't really get the catharsis of like, oh, it's over. I just didn't like it. So honestly, what I said just now, that conclusion bit, could have been total hot air, because that's what I'm speaking out of my ass. I don't know. I don't like horror. There's not been a single thing in this month that I truly... Okay, everything I enjoyed wasn't because of the horror. Everything I enjoyed was because the horror was a vehicle for something else. But I could never enjoy the scare itself. I could never enjoy the fear itself. Or at least everything that surrounded that fear, like including some sort of cathartic moment that I imagine should have happened but didn't for me. Conclusion: horror is not for you. Perhaps it is, yeah. And I think that's the conclusion I'm going to walk away with, unfortunately. But honestly speaking, because I don't want to... Because it'd be really nice if I ended this with like, you know what? I think I like horror now. That's cool. And I'm going to play more horror games. Like, you know, that would be fun. That'd be really idealistic. But that is ultimately not at all how I feel about this. Like, actually, I still hate it. I still don't like it. And I can recognize that good horror, maybe. Or at least I can start to do so. And I can appreciate that people like it, and I can appreciate when it's done well, but, like, you know, I don't like it, but I don't want to. I don't want to play horror games. They're scary, and they make me feel unwell, and there's no catharsis at the end of the scare, too. Like, it just is what it is. Man. Maybe next year. Everything I liked about Little Nightmares 1, for example, was the horror, the scare, was just a side effect of what I actually liked about the game. What I liked about Little Nightmares 1 was the overarching messaging and the themes of the story that are expressed in this really interesting creative medium and, like, aesthetic style that is so different from other horror things I've seen because of how childish, and I mean this positively, in a great way it is. Like it's childish in the best ways. It really makes you feel like you're a 6-year-old again. Might be because the good conclusions of these horror experiences is that you survived and the monsters are still at large. I mean, even if, like, Freddy Fazbear got detained or whatever at the end of FNAF 1, I don't think I would have felt any different. I don't know. I don't really know if I would have felt any different. Would I have? I don't think so. Let me look at that list of shit I did again. Higurashi, Limbo, Little Nightmares 3, Vampire the Masquerades, Bloodlines, Five Nights at Freddy's, Iron Lung, The Call of Cthulhu, Get Out. Yeah, I don't think any of these, if you change the ending, would have. In fact, arguably, I would have liked Get Out more if the ending were less resolute. If the ending were less like, here's how we solve racism. Was kind of the new ending of Get Out that I didn't, or that's a very uncharitable interpretation of the ending, in my opinion. It's not what it is, but I'm trying to be mean about it. I'm just trying to be mean about it, okay? I don't actually think that's what it is. But I do think that it wasn't the right direction to take that film. I feel like the original ending was where it should have landed, but I suppose, and the director thought so too, but I guess due to audience feedback, they had to change it. Whatever. The people don't know. They don't know. You're not an adrenaline junkie? I don't think so. I don't like the adrenaline. I want to be at peace. I want to be happy. I want to be content. I want to like just not... No, you know what? I say that. But I like Elden Ring. I like, not Jaws. What's the game? Raft? I like Raft. This game where you have to like set up a boat, a raft, with wooden planks and other resources while you drift on the sea aimlessly as a shark hunts you down periodically and tries to like destroy everything you've created and kill you. I like that game, and I enjoyed Raft a lot. But I didn't feel fear. I don't feel fear rather when the shark shows up. I feel like a slight sense of like nervousness and anxiety and like, oh no, what do we do? But I didn't feel fear. That was very different. The way I felt the way I felt about the shark in Raft is entirely different from the way I thought about like all the sea creatures in Iron Lung. I say I like being peaceful, but I also like arguing. True, same. I love arguing. Okay, I don't love arguing, but I love going into discussions where people disagree. Because that's so interesting. If we all agreed and shook hands and, you know, it would just be like a huge echo chamber, and I don't really care for that. But if it's like, if there's disagreement, I'm like, ooh, this is interesting. I want to see to this. We need full 30 years of horror mode, Charis. No, you're never going to get it. Nope. We need to expand the horror game arc into November so that you can formulate your idea better. I think my idea is actually as best as it could be. So no, screw you. I'm not doing this shit again. I just didn't like it. And you know what? I think I'll try again next year. I will try again next year. I will try to immerse myself. What's the theme next month? There's not necessarily a theme next month, but the next... Because I'm not trying to do a theme every month. It just so happens that most themes last a month, and it's convenient to start and end on, like, the start and end of a month. But, like, the next theme... I suppose... Well, because it's the end of the stream, I suppose I can give you a brief teaser. We're not going to get to it yet, because we're going to play something totally irrelevant next week. We're going to play, like, Dispatch, I think.
Trolley Problems game, then?
No, we're not doing that yet. At least not yet. We're playing Dispatch next month, or next week. We're gonna play, like, we're gonna catch up on some things, and I might play Honkai Star Rail. I know I said that last arc, but then, you know, it led too quickly into October, and I didn't want to derail that, so I ended up postponing / canceling that. But I might come back to that and actually play Honkai Star Rail on stream, regrettably. I know. Oh, it's a gacha game. You're streaming a gacha game. What is wrong with you? I know. Okay, but it's like, listen, the story is ancient Greece themed, and there are so many references to like philosophical thought experiments and ideas and like ancient Greek philosophy, and I really want to talk about it. I really want to be like, oh my god, that's intellectual midwifery. Oh my god, I know what that means. That's a reference to Plato. I know that. You know, I want to do that. I think. What's stopping you from continuing horror games tomorrow? The fact that I don't like them, and I hate them, and I've had enough of this shit. That's what's stopping me, is the fact that I don't enjoy it. Ultimately, that is the message that, you know, that is the conclusion we come to, is I don't like this stuff, unfortunately. I don't find the catharsis or the I don't enjoy it in any way. I enjoyed it in the meta sense of like I'm now a more learned person, but I didn't enjoy the experiences themselves. The experiences informed me, but you know, and I like being informed. I enjoy being informed, but I don't, not necessarily the horror. Disgusting. You're completely right and valid for saying that. Absolutely. But so okay, so that's what we're doing probably like next week or the week after. But you know what but next arc is the surveillance arc, I think. Or maybe just general like dystopian future arc. That's the idea. The next arc is the dystopia arc. What does that mean? Or what does that include? I can't tell you yet for certain, but what I would like to do is I would like to maybe play Cyberpunk or Metal Gear or both, among some other games that I have not fully planned out yet. Including a game called Not for Broadcast, I think, or something Broadcast, I forget. Which seems like a cool game as well. And then we'll do a reading of like 1984. Or we'll do many readings of 1984 because it's a relatively long book. What else? That's it, I think. Or at least those are the main things that we'll cover, probably. In the dystopian arc, that's what we're doing, yep. Unbelievably hyped for this patch. I don't know what to expect because I've not played it yet, but it seems like the type of thing I want to get into because it's a story-based game. It's happening right now, and they're doing episodic releases. It's a political comedy thriller thing about superheroes. It's kind of cool. I like superheroes. So maybe, you know, I'll really enjoy that, but I have no idea what to expect because I haven't watched anything of it at all. I just know like Charlie Moist Critical Penguin Z0's in it. Like that's all I know. Honkai, are you trying to get rid of your audience? No, but like, you know, if that balances the gender ratios, then you know what, so be it. Some sacrifices need to be made. Oh. The hardest decisions require the strongest wills. Perfectly balanced as all things should be. Put my face on Thanos, and then it's like me deciding to play Honkai Star Rail. There you go. Resident Evil is a dystopian game. Ah, perhaps it is. And there are a lot of overlaps between dystopia and horror. But I'm not playing horror games anymore because I don't like them. and it's been a whole month of me trying them out, so I'm not doing any more of that shit. But you know what? Like, that is why I want to lead it. That's why the next arc is the dystopian arc, is because there's a lot of overlap between like dystopias.
Can your PC even handle Cyberpunk without self-immolating?
I don't know. I think what I'll do is I'll do one stream to figure that out, and if it self-immolates, then we'll never do it again. We will watch the edited version of the Truman Show next arc, or straight up the German Dollhouse. Oh, no, we can't. It's too irrelevant. I wish we could talk about the German Dollhouse, but we can't. I don't think it has anything bearing on dystopian futures whatsoever. Maybe we can to some extent if we tie the Truman Show in, but this Truman Show isn't even dystopia. It doesn't feel dystopic or dystopian. It doesn't feel dystopian to me. It just feels, it just feels like a thought experiment more than a dystopia, because it's just one dude. Like it's just the person. Could you imagine that maybe like it's a world of people that were immersed in that type of thing, and then everyone else around them was AI? Maybe. It's surveillance, kind of. I have another recommendation that will drop in the Discord for the dystopian arc. Yeah, so everyone, if you have any recommendations or suggestions or comments, or you want to tell me I'm wrong, you can do that in my YouTube comments or right here now in the stream comments. Or you can go into the Discord and complain about it there, I guess. You can do that. You can also give me recommendations if you think that I will enjoy something, and I will consider them. I will not promise that I will get to any recommendations, but I can promise that I'll think about them. I will. Not everything needs to fit into the box. Yeah, I know, which is why we're doing things that don't fit in the box first before we do the boxed thing, right? Like, we're not going to start the surveillance / dystopian arc immediately. That's not happening yet. That's gonna maybe happen, I want to say December, or late November, maybe early December. And it'll cut into Christmas. We'll do like a week of Christmas and then get back to it maybe. I don't know how we'll do that exactly, but like the idea is like it's also maybe going to be a month or maybe even 2 months long. We can watch iRobot again. Oh god, not again. You could never make art as a robot. You could never make Picasso's masterpiece. You could never draw scenery. Okay, but can you? It's so silly, that movie. All right, whatever. That's it. Thank you for listening to my brief. It's not brief. It's 2.5 hours. I should like shut up. It was into my brief conclusions on the horror month. These are the games I played and my experiences with them, and I really liked them. Last thing I'll say, Last thing I'll say is Iron Lung was the best thing I experienced, and I think although I didn't enjoy the scare of it, I think it was so well done that like I have so much appreciation for the art form itself, and I'm looking forward to Markiplier's film in the future whenever that comes about. It scared me like nothing ever has, and more importantly, it really stayed in my mind. That's the fear that stayed in my head. I'm constantly thinking back to the world of Iron Lung and, you know, the lore of it. Why the prospect that planets could just one day disappear along with star systems, like what the fuck is going on? Don't know, but it sure is interesting. Sure sticking in my mind, and it's scary as shit. I could do like an analysis or a deep dive of Iron Lung, but then it would just be like me regurgitating opinions from different video essays from other people, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not bothered. Its surveillance, this is referring to the Truman Show, because after the release of it, schizophrenic delusions based on the movie started to show up in institutionalized patients. That feels like a stretch, but I'll have to look into that. Maybe that's true. If you've got like a source for that, put that in the Discord. Thank you. Or not. Or in the YouTube chats. Or the comments. Somewhere like that. I'm gonna go now. Goodbye. Bye 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 bye. So yeah, I am going to stream next week. I don't know when exactly. I think I'll stream on Wednesday and Friday. And then also maybe Saturday. I kind of want to just catch up fully on Dispatch because it's a story-based thing. So maybe I'll just play a bunch of Dispatch. We'll see. Not all the chapters are out yet. I know, I'm just gonna catch up.